Now that we have seen how to create variables and play around with them, we're going to apply these principles to creating some basic rings and inserting variables into our designs so that we can have a whole host of different variations on our designs from that one simple model. Okay, by doing this we can create a vast library of designs in very short periods of time. Okay, so let's exit out of our previous two files. We're going to create a new file. In this case, we're going to create a generic template. Okay, let's create another file, again generic. Okay, and now I'm going to hide my history, and I'm going to use this icon here to minimize my screens so that I can have two files up in one window. Okay, so we left click on each one to activate that file. Now we've seen our Jewelry Counter Design Studio, how easy it is to create a whole host of different ring shanks. Okay, so we've seen our closed ring shanks. We have a whole host of different closed ring shanks. Okay, these are all the closed ring shanks that apply to our ring shank sketches. Okay, and these are all tapered. Okay, so we're placing them on our top datum, confirm, and here we have a step band. Okay, remember we can use our tweak tools in the Tools and Cutters tab, to tweak our components. Okay, so there's really no limit to the number of variations we can have here. We have control over our sidewalls, our step width. Again, if we want no taper on our band, we simply make these values the same. Okay, we make the top values the same as the bottom values. Okay, we can also create open ring shanks. Okay, open ring shanks will allow us to place maybe a bezel or a center stone in our middle here. Again, we also have control over the size of this opening using our tweak tool. The opening, you can increase it. Okay, I don't know why we're having this output error here. Seems as though we can ignore this one. Okay, so we have full control over this ring shank. I'm going to undo this. Let's see what else we have. We have square shanks. We have open and closed square shanks. And then we have control over this as well. Okay, we can completely customize it to suit our needs. Okay, so this is a knife edge square shank. We can use a pre-made channel band, a pre-made pave band, we had further open shanks. Okay, we have all these different designs. We have these shanks outer control path. Okay, we can make many different types of wedding bands from these single designs because we have full control over their variables. Okay, so let's just bring in an open square shank on the top datum. Okay, so you can see we have all of these many variations with our Jewelry Counter Design Studio. Okay, and the good thing is that we can add our own customizations to these components. Okay, so all we have to do is, once we've made our tweaks to it, is merge the component as a base. Okay, this turns it into a shape and we can further customize it. Shape, merge. Okay, so now we have two shapes that we can make customizations to. Okay, we can add some inlaid text, for example, and I'll show you how to do that quickly. Remember, we saw how to inlay or emboss text by creating a sketch. Insert sketch, top datum, we're going to use our Ready Sketch tool. Let's type some text. Arial black font. Okay, we'll place it around the middle there. Okay, I'm just doing this very quickly. You'll want to be more precise if you're doing this yourself. We saw how we can then wrap this sketch on this face. We can pick an origin. We'll need a rotation. Let's give it 270. Okay, so we're putting it on the inside of the ring here this time. Okay, redefine last. Do not keep the original curves. Then we can use our inlay tool. Pick our face. We're going to chain pick. Our curves, our lettering. You can then set an offset, say negative 0.25. Going to leave the direction. Let's add a draft, 25 degrees. Okay, we have some inlaid text on the inside of our wedding band now. And this is a feature that customers may often want. Okay, so another method, instead of using our wrap and our sketch, we have a tool which I've mentioned before. Okay, this is our text in UV space. We can apply our text directly onto a surface. Let's add a rotation. Left click to place it. I'm not being specific. We can space it out a bit. Confirm. We're going to do our same inlay. Okay, this is just real bodge job, just to show you the principles. Okay, so if you come to do this yourself, you're going to want to place it more specifically. More specific point. Okay, but you get the principle there. We can create our bands from our Counter Design Studio and then customize them. We can put text on them. We can inlay other things. Okay, so it's really up to you. There's an unlimited amount of possibilities there. So I'm going to exit out of these designs. I don't want to save them. We're going to create a new part, basic closed solitaire. Okay, and we're going to see how easy it is to build up a ring library, a jewelry library of designs ourselves. Okay, so like the Counter Design Studio, we can create our own library of customizable designs using our variables. We're going to name this file wedding band template. Confirm. Okay, let's bring up our history manager. There we go. Okay, and now I'm going to insert a sketch on my front datum. Use centroid defined by plane. Okay, now I want to reference this ring template. Okay, so left click, and now it is referenced. So if my ring size is updated, the ring template changes, and so will this sketch, this curve in this sketch. Okay. However, it is currently construction geometry. I need to change this to live geometry by right clicking. I want to change it to live geometry by toggling the type. Okay, this icon here will unlink the curve from our part level, so we don't want to do this. We want to keep it linked. We toggle our type. Okay, alternatively, if I'll just undo this, a faster method would simply be when we come to reference, we take off our construction geometry toggle. We can reference this curve. Okay, and it is live geometry straight away, but is linked up to our template. Okay, so now I'm going to use our ready sketch tools. Let's start off with an octagon. Pick the octagon, I'll constrain it to the center point, left click. Okay, and here we have our octagon. I can modify the dimensions here, but I want to link up this dimension to the ring size. Okay, so if our ring size increases, I want this to increase. Okay, so how am I going to do that? Well, I'll delete this dimension. I'm going to right click, use my quick dimension tool. I'm going to dimension from this point to this point, drag out the dimension. Okay, now I can increase or decrease this value. Let's say leave it at 2.35. Confirm. Let's bring this down again so we can see it. Just dragging it down. Okay, so here is our sketch. If I exit into our part level, let me change my ring size. Let's just crank it up, and we'll see that our sketch will update as well. There you go, our sketch updated to that ring size, because we've ensured that it is linked up, that in the sketch level our geometry is linked up to our template and our part. Okay, so the end goal is I'm going to extrude this shape and create a ring shank. But first of all, I'm going to insert some variables. Insert variable. I want to create a variable for that distance I had here, that dimension here. Let's call that variable minimum thickness. Okay, since we have varying thickness around this band, this is the minimum thickness. Okay, let's set it to be 2.5 for now. Confirm the operation. Now let's open up our history. Right click, show dimensions. Okay, change my entity filter onto dimension. Double click on this dimension. I'm going to pick the dimension from my variables browser, minimum thickness. Okay, and I've linked it up there. Okay, so now this dimension is linked up to the minimum thickness variable. I also have my ring size variable. Okay, so we're building up a modifiable design. Save our work. Okay, I'm going to save this file as wedding band octagon. Save. Okay, now I'm going to insert a new variable. This one is going to be the width. Okay, the width of the shank. Let's set it to be 4. Okay, so here you can see our variables. Now I'm going to perform an extrude on this sketch. I want a symmetrical extrusion, and I want to link up the extrusion amount to my variable width. Okay, so I come into my input options, and I'm going to select expression, left click, and now I can insert an expression for that thickness, which includes selecting a variable, the width. Okay, but now the width is 4, and this is a symmetrical extrusion, so it's going to extrude 4 millimeters in each direction, so that will be a total width of 8 millimeters, which means I want to set this extrusion value to be the width divided by 2. Okay, so we'll extrude it 2 millimeters in each direction for a total width of 4 millimeters. Okay, confirm. Okay, we're going to redefine that. We want to add end caps. Okay, so here we have basic wedding band, an octagon wedding band. Okay, now I'm going to insert a new variable. I'm going to call this variable fillet radius. Let's start off at a value of 0.25. Okay, because I'm now going to add a fillet to my faces, to my edges, sorry. Let's use our loop fillet, pick some faces. Okay, this will add a comfort fit on the inside and also round off our edges here. Okay, let's set our radius expression. Okay, we're going to set the expression to fillet radius. Okay, confirm. There you go. Save our work. Now we can add these attributes to our driving parameters. Attributes, part, driving parameters. Let's clear this folder out. Left click, middle click, left click, middle click, left click, middle click. Okay, now something to bear in mind. So when we left click, middle click, and you don't see it load, just move your mouse a little bit. Okay, so it's not loading back up. Move your mouse and I'll pop it back up. Okay, so now let's left click, right click, browse variables. We'll add our width, minimum thickness, fillet radius, apply. Now we have full control over the dimensions of this ring. We can completely modify it. We could increase the ring size. Okay, increase the minimum thickness, the width even. We may be creating a men's wedding band here. Maybe we want more of a comfort fit, more of a fillet. Okay, then we can also drop it down again. Width 3, thickness, let's say 2. Okay, we've got more of a delicate ring shank here. Okay, so here we've made a new ring that we can add to our own library, and we can fully customize it. Okay, and it's very simple to do. Save our work. Better yet, we can make further rings from this one design, from this one part. Okay, so how about we change our sketch, our octagon, let's change it to a hexagon. We can right click in our sketch. Let's redefine it. Let's show target. We'll hide our part level. Now I'm going to window pick everything. Holding down the control key, I'm going to unpick my center curve, the circle. Now I will erase the rest. Change the octagon for a hexagon. Drop it in on the center. I'm going to erase this dimensioning value again. I'm going to right click, quick dimension, same parts. Okay, it's already linked up to minimum thickness, else we could link it up ourselves with our variables browser. Minimum thickness. Exit. Watch the rest of history replay. Okay, we had an issue with the fillet. Okay, if we have a regeneration fail, we'll get a pop-up. We can then choose to suppress it, redefine our previous operation, In this case I want to edit the failed operation, the fillet. Okay, and in this case the software has automatically picked an alternate selection. Okay, and that is the right selection for us. So we're just going to confirm the operation. And here you go. Let's save this file. Save as wedding band hexagon. And we have our same controls. Okay, so we've just made another entirely different wedding band ring shank, but using our same history. Okay, you can see how simple this is going to be to create a vast library of different designs. Okay, so let's do it again. Redefine, window pick, control unpick, press delete, show target. Let's just use a square this time. We're going to use a simple square. We're going to delete this one. Okay, we do have constraints here. We can see our constraints. Show our constraints. Right click, quick dimension from here to here. Drop it down. Link it up. Minimum thickness. Exit. Okay, we need to edit that fillet again. It's linking up again itself. Confirm. How about we want to add another fillet at our corners? Insert variable. Corner fillet radius. Let's say 1. Okay. Fillet. We're going to use an edge fillet. Pick these corners. These edges, sorry. Let's link it up. Corner fillet radius. Confirm. Attributes. Part. We're going to add this to our driving parameters. Now we can play around with this as well. Creating something entirely different here. Okay. Now we can save this one. Square fillet. Okay, instead of the fillet, insert variable, we could do corner chamfer setback. Setback. Let's start off with 1. Okay, going to come back before that fillet, delete it, add a chamfer at those corners instead. Link up the setback, corner chamfer setback. Pop 2 in there. You just want the 1 value. Corner chamfer setback. Attribute part. Let's take out our corner fillet radius. Left click. Okay, middle click. You can left click again. Right click. Browse variables. Corner chamfer setback. Let's increase this. Okay, we're effectively creating our hexagon again, but now we have control over the side lengths with a chamfer and all of our other variables as well. File, save as, square chamfer. So you can see here in quick succession we have started to build up our own library of basic wedding bands. Okay, and this can go on and on. We can change this sketch for any number of things. Okay, I'm going to create one more variation. Right click, redefine. Okay, this time I'm going to create some arcs from here to here. Another one here to here. Okay, I could be using my draw tool there. In fact, I'll do that just to show you. Draw, pick the first point, hold down the Alt key, left click, drag it out. Alt key, left click, drag it out. Okay, middle click to finish. In fact, I want to delete these auto constraints that have been added. Do not want tangencies. Okay, now we can play around with this value. Okay, now I want to create a value, a variable for this. So let's exit the sketch. We're going to insert variable and to call it the arc radius. Let's start off with 20 degrees. 20 millimeters, sorry. Okay, now we'll enter back into our sketch. You can double click on it. Okay, now we can link up this variable, arc radius. Done. Now I want all of these other radiuses to be linked up to this one here. Okay, now these radiuses are in parentheses. This is because they're brought in with a constraint. Now if we right click on these, toggle reference, okay, it changes it to a live driving parameter. Right click, modify value, and I want to link it up to this dimension. So we use our select dimension, left click, okay. So I should have erased that box first. Select dimension, pick our 20 millimeter dimension, okay. Let's do it for all of these. Right click, modify, link it up to this dimension. Right click, toggle reference, right click, modify. Okay, so now when I change this value, all the others will update. Let's cancel out so it stays linked up to our variable. Now we may wish to change the color of these variables. Now that they are linked up to this one, we're not going to be changing these. So we can control pick them, right click, attributes. I like to blank it out or set it to a grey color. So I see that these are not dimensions that I want to make changes to. Okay, remember we're still linked up to our minimum thickness. Okay, but this will no longer be our minimum thickness. So we may wish to change that variable name, but for now I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm just doing this as an example. Okay, now when we exit the sketch, all of this is still live geometry. Okay, we'll see it in our part level and it's going to fail as a result. So let's come back into our sketch. So we could toggle this as construction geometry. However, I want to show you our trace profile. Our trace profile command allows us to pick profiles in our sketching environment that we want our tools in the part level to consider only. Okay, so when we trace this profile, okay, we see it set to blue. When we exit our part level, okay, this will still be live geometry. However, our commands will not recognize it. Okay, you can see it as a result how extrude works. Delete the chamfer, attributes, part. Let's get rid of that chamfer. We can left click, okay, instead of middle clicking, you can simply right click, browse variables, we're going to replace it with the arc radius. Okay, and now you can see we can play with this. Remember, this isn't a minimum thickness anymore, so we may want to change that terminology, but I'm going to leave it as it is for now. 25. Okay. File, save as, wedding band, arc, square. Okay, so we just created many different simple wedding bands that are fully customizable. Okay, and we can create any number of variations from these. And that's how easy it is to build up your own library of rings. Okay, now let's create another one. We're going to create a new file, basic closed solitaire. Let's call this one Milgrain. Here we're going to learn about our Milgrain tool. So let's first of all insert a ring shank. Okay, we're going to place 2 ring shanks. We're going to use our rectangle step half round. Place one at the top, one at the bottom. Okay, at the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock date times. And now, in our attributes parts, driving parameters, okay, so these are reset every time we create a new file. Let's clear this out. Okay, now I'm going to create a whole bunch of variables to connect to these sketches. Okay, so I'm going to insert a load here. Okay, you may not understand their purpose, but we'll link them up and it'll be fine. So let me just insert a bunch of variables. Top width, middle click, top thickness, middle click, top sidewall, Okay, let's bring them into our driving parameters. Apply. Okay, now let's link them up. This is our top width. This is our top thickness. Okay, you can see for some reason we've been taken into our other file. So we simply navigate to our Milgrain file. There you go, we see our variables again. Top thickness. This is the top sidewall. This is the top step width, as is this. Okay, now let's link up the bottom ring shank sketch. This is the bottom width, bottom thickness, bottom sidewall, bottom step width, Same for this one. Okay, so these are all linked up now. Let's perform a drive curve loft. Driving curve. Let's pick the curve list of the template, profiles, sketches, and we'll pick them at the same points. No end caps. Confirm. There we go, we have a tapered ring shank now. Okay, and we can modify it from our driving parameters. Save our work. Let's call this wedding band Milgrain. Save. Okay, and now I'm going to introduce you to our Milgrain tool. So in the Design, Sketches and Ring tab, we have two Milgrain commands. We can add a standard Milgrain or a scaled Milgrain. We'll be using our standard Milgrain. Okay, when we left click on the command, we're prompted to pick a curve to place our Milgrain on. Okay, so first of all, we need to create the curve to put our Milgrain on. Okay, in the Milgrain, I want it to run around this surface. So I want to have a curve exactly in the center of this surface. To do this, I will use my UV ISO curves. Okay, so I'm going to use this multiple UV option. I'll pick this face, and the U number, I want 1. It's going to set it exactly in the middle. I don't want any V curves. Confirm the operation. There we have that curve. Let's put one on the other side, like so. Okay, we use our Milgrain tool. We can pick our curves, 1 curve, 2 curve. We then have the option to modify the diameter of our Milgrain and the overlap of them. I'm going to leave it as it is for now because I'm going to create variables for these two values. Confirm the operation. Okay, and our Milgrain is brought in on those curves. Now these Milgrains, these are all shapes. They're brought in as shapes. Okay, so now let's insert those variables. Insert variable Milgrain diameter. So 0.5. And Milgrain overlap. 0.1. Now we redefine the last operation, the overlap, expression, variable browser, Milgrain overlap. Okay. Same for this one, expression, Milgrain diameter. Okay. So here you go, let's save our work. Add these variables to our driving parameters. Left click, right click, browse variables, Milgrain diameter, Milgrain overlap, apply. Now let's change the width of this step. Okay, on the bottom I want it to be 0.75 as well. Okay, now I'm going to set my Milgrain diameter to be 0.75, overlap 0, apply. There you go, we have our Milgrain around this wedding band. Okay, save our work. Now I'm going to further develop this ring. For our curves, let's modify our 2 ISO curves. Instead of 1, I'm going to have 3 curves. Okay, I'm going to have a double Milgrain. Milgrain on this curve and this curve. The middle curve I will not be placing the Milgrain on. It's simply so we can have the right separation between these two curves. Confirm the operation. Do the same for this one. Now the Milgrain, edit, pick some more curves, pick these two curves as well. Confirm the operation. Okay, obviously we're going to have to drop our Milgrain diameter down so they fit in, but let's first of all save this as a new file. Okay, wedding band, double Milgrain. Save. Let's change my attributes, parts, driving parameters. Let's first of all increase the top width, let's say 6, bottom width, let's increase it to a 4. Let's also increase our step width, let's say 1 for both. Apply. Set our Milgrain diameter to 0.5, half a millimeter. Okay, bear in mind you probably do not want your Milgrain to be less than 0.3 of a millimeter. Okay, this will be difficult to manufacture. 0.3 millimeters, or say 0.25, a quarter of a millimeter, is about the limit of tolerance for manufacture. Okay, so here is our double Milgrain. Now I'm going to erase those curves. Set my entity filter onto curve. Left click erase. Window pick. Window pick. Middle click. Okay, and it's gotten rid of those curves. Here is our double Milgrain band. Save. And of course we have our complete control over it. Pick all of our shapes. Right click, face attributes, play around with it. I like to drop the gold saturation to around 150, form a live render. Okay, so there you've seen how to build up a vast library of basic wedding bands very quickly, very easily, and so that they are all modifiable, okay, to suit your customers' needs.